evening. Welcome to Choices Podcast. My name's Brett Stalko, and we are at choicespodcastofficial.com, or you can find us on Facebook group under Choices Podcast. We're all about encouraging people to make better choices in their personal, business, and relationship part of their life. We're relatively a new podcast, but we're growing like a weed. Tonight, our topic is going to be hot topics for the Choices Roundtable. We got killer topics we're going to go on and discuss this evening. And you need to know every topic we're going to talk about because we're going to give you great tools to stay safe. Anyways, meet Carcuss John, and he's going to get us going on the lyrics for tonight.
Hey, Brett. Hey, Rev. How are you?
Great.
So
Carcuss, good to be with you.
Good to be here. Hey, so I was thinking about kind of our topic, and we touched on a few things prior to going on the air. And I thought, you know what? This is the perfect song, and I'm going to make Brett's day right here, right now. The Beatles. All you need is love.
All you need is love, brother.
You want to sing it, or
No.
you want to do? You do want to do the chorus in the background?
All you need is love.
So it starts off love, 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 and love, love, love. We've all heard it a million times. But as you know what, sometimes I hear stuff on the radio or I hear stuff in passing and I just don't even really think about the lyrics. In fact, I made the mistake of telling my parents once that those Kiss records were just fine because I never paid attention to the lyrics, but that was my fatal mistake. But anyway, I really dug into this thing, and here's what that was the chorus, and then here's the first verse. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. There's nothing you can sing that can't be sung. There's nothing you can say, but you can learn how to play the game. It's easy. Nothing you can do or nothing you can make that can't be made. No one you can save that can't be saved. Nothing you can do, but you can learn how to be you in time. It's easy. And then it goes into the chorus again. All you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all you need. So I thought about that. And you know what? I think we complicate our lives way too much. And maybe we do need to narrow it down to just the raw power of loving and being and all the things that entail around loving someone, being kind, being concerned, being cognizant of our surroundings and theirs. And then, like you said, Brett, we like to give people tools to help them be safe. Not that we're in imminent danger, but are we kind of not in imminent danger? Almost 24/7, it seems these days. And we'll get into some of those topics. But anyway, I thought that'd make your day.
Well, here's our other co-host is a dear friend of mine since 1972. We're still young at heart. And meet the great Danny Brewer, a.k.a. Reverend.
Hey, man. Good to be with these two. You guys are too good for me.
No, that's not true. Reverend will come up and throw a fastball at you, what the Bible says, and I love that.
Well, I will tell you this. The Bible says that real love's a verb, right?
Right. It is. It's action.
Absolutely.
That's how, when you throw those fastballs, Danny, I'm always going to whiff when I'm at the plate.
But you know what, Brett? Like I used to tell my baseball kids in Select League down in Houston, you're going to strike out a time or two and you're going to swing and miss, but we're going to figure out why you swung and missed and why, and because you're going to learn from that mistake. And eventually you're going to hit those fastballs back at
That's
the Reverend.
The difference between the generation that we have growing up today and our generation. Because we cared how to get better. We cared how to get from point A to point B. What's going to get me to point B, Reverend? Hard work. Nobody gave you nothing. You could have got something. Your daddy's one of the most awesome lawyers I ever met in my life. He didn't give you nothing. You had to go earn it.
Yeah.
Same with you, Carcuss. Nobody gave you nothing. Nowadays, it's like Irv was saying last weekend. The kids today, to get from point A to point B, they don't want to do it. And if they don't get to point B, they're going to try to take it from you.
Well, plus
it's not good.
Plus, they'll tell you If they're failing and if they're not doing what they could, you can't judge me. They're the you can't judge me generation. And you know what? We're not judging them. We're just encouraging them to work it out and do the right thing. And here we are to help you. But they don't want the help. They think that they know everything because of what they've got in their hand. They've got the power of the world in their hand.
You take that phone and stomp on it.
Well, here's the truth, guys, and it's something I was looking at this weekend. A lot of us don't like to be in battles. We consider it a negative, but when you really look at the big picture, life is a battle, right? I mean, you never escape it. You can't let that get you down, but it actually makes us stronger. So these kids, this generation, eventually they're gonna deal with a battle that could be over their head if they don't get used to the idea that, hey, you gotta fight, you gotta work in this life to make it.
Boy, isn't that the truth? I remember when I was flat on my back. Can y'all remember when you were flat on your back before?
Oh yeah.
Would somebody please help me up? Well, made me a better person.
Yeah.
Made me a lot better person.
Well, hey, Brett, when did you learn your best lessons practicing law? For me, it was on some of my rare losses, but it was those tough ones where like, oh man, I didn't see that coming, and baby, I saw it coming the next time.
So I learned the worst lesson or the best lesson in Judge Baraka's court. I was trying felonies at 25 years old. Anyways, I was cocky. I was winning. I thought I was badass.
Wait. You?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm trying this hard ass case, and it was Wednesday. I could still tell you what day it was. He goes, okay, we're going to start up back at 1:00. Well, I'm up in my office. That's where the white courthouse was, the criminal courthouse up at the top. Yeah. That's where the DA's office was. And I was woodshedding witnesses, and I walk in at 1:15. I thought he'd wait for me, right? The jury's in the box looking at me going,
oh,
you're the reason we're getting started late. Yeah. And I've never been late. Never. Ever since that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was embarrassing, man.
Yeah.
It takes those kind of lessons to make you a better lawyer.
No doubt. I vividly remember the day that I had my first jury come back with the wrong verdict, and it's something you never forget if you care and you want to get better.
I don't even look at them. I don't even look at the jurors anymore. I don't give it to them. Hey, speaking of juries, okay, we got to start with the hot topic of P. Diddy, dude, because I know where this is going, and it's got to be talked about. But it's all about what we always talk about. The trouble in the world is power and money. And this is the ultimate example of power and money and what he abuses people. But let me start off by giving you the scenario, okay? So here he is, he's indicted in a federal court in New York. He's in jail. They're not going to give him a bond. And so he's looking, I think the guidelines in a federal case, everything's based on guidelines. So you get points, right? And you go down, once you get the points, you just go right down the guideline at like number 35, and it's going to be like 10 years to 25 years. It goes in months, though, the guidelines. So his is a minimum 15 years. That's where he's starting on the guidelines. He's 54 years old. That would make him 69. He'll never make it that long. I'm taking these people down with me. He's not going, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and I'm going to take the fall for everybody.
No.
Dude, he's going, I've got my list and I'm taking these people down. And it is going to be an ever-loving mess.
Hey, Brett, can I ask you something? So on the point system,
Yeah.
and I don't know much about the federal system. I spent
No.
my time in the state court. So if he comes forward and he spills the beans, if he, makes a case against some other big names, can that buy him some time off the minimum?
It's called a 5K1 downward departure. So it gives them enough information. The government will file a 5K1 downward departure, and the judge can go off the guidelines based on his cooperation. And now it's discretionary for a judge how far down he can go.
Wow.
Based on the cooperation. So his lawyer's going, dude, you can't go to trial. You know, the acceptance responsibility points will help you. That's 3. He gets 3 acceptance responsibilities. But he's going to end up dead.
Well, I find it very interesting already. The word we're getting is that he's on suicide watch. And I'm thinking, surely we're not going to see the second supposed suicide in jail, but we may, huh?
Oh,
Of
yeah.
course, I'm talking about Epstein.
Oh, yeah. What do you think? It's sort of scary talking about it, isn't it? It's real life.
Yeah.
So can I ask I have hearsay. I'm not a lawyer. Okay. You need something in your yard, I can help you. You need a stereo system, I can help you. You need music stuff or a drawing, I can help you. But lawyering, that is not my thing. But I am familiar with a case where several people were federally indicted for some serious charges. And one of them, and it looked like they were all dead to right. They were. Is it true that that on a federal case that their conviction rate is somewhere in the 90s?
Oh, easy.
Easy. Okay. So if one of those people rolls on that, let's say in this case there was 3 people, one of them rolled and turned in more evidence on the other 2 guys, and he walked. Is that common?
Yeah, it happens all the time. Is what happens, and you have an indictment, a multi-defendant indictment. It goes 1 through 20, right? Whatever. And 20 is the least culpable. Number 1's the most culpable. So what they do is they start picking off the bottom chickens. Number 20, number 19, they get them rolling. Number 18, number 17, number 16. And they go all the way up till they got either 1, 2, and 3 or 1.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Never fail.
in this case, and I guess I'm just asking your opinion because I don't know that you have any inside track on this. Is it going to be like a Jeffrey Epstein thing where he's sitting on a powder keg of people and somehow we never saw the list of clients and we never saw this, and all of a sudden, poof, he just was hanging from a shower rod somewhere in jail?
If you Google P. Diddy right now, you'll see Hollywood is quiet. Hollywood is silent. No one in Hollywood is talking. Why? Because they've been at P. Diddy's parties. And they're like, oh, P. Diddy, please don't snitch on me. Guess what? Dude, he's going to snitch on them. He's going to snitch on every one of them. He's going to try to get his time down.
So what makes something like this happen? Because I'm kind of hearkening back to the Harvey Weinstein thing. His crap had been going on for decades with other people. I mean, all through the history of Hollywood. And I unfortunately sat through a Marilyn Monroe document. It was kind of a semi-documentary, but it was frightening how they were treated. And nothing has changed, the old couch interview or whatever. So what would bring something like this to the forefront, and why would they specifically pick out like this, for example, P. Diddy? Why? Because I know that there are other people doing the same doggone thing.
Yeah, he's so flagrant. He was drugging. He was doing the things that you don't do. He was flamboyant. He didn't think he'd ever get caught. When they arrested him, dude, he had 1,000 bottles of baby oil on him. And he still had porno videos on him. Right? What are you thinking? They're going to come arrest you. You burn it all. You get rid of it. He didn't do any of that. evidence.
You know, it's a sobering movie to watch, because think about 20 years ago, did he ever think this would happen to him? Look at how his life is going to end. You know, and sometimes it doesn't end this way, but more times than not, that lifestyle, right? I mean, it's going to eventually kick you in the face.
Listen, I always tell people back when I was a baby lawyer, I'd tell them, I go, look, dude, I know you don't think this is a good deal, and I know you don't want to go back. The hardest thing to happen is when you get somebody out and they have to go back in. Oh, it's hard. You got to be a seasoned lawyer to talk of going back in. But you tell them, you might not believe this right now, but you're going to do 2 years, right? If you don't take this 2 years, you're going to get 20. And that 2 years and one day is the day after the 2 years is the worst day in your life because you'd be out, right? And they go, Mr. Brett, I think you're right. I'm going to go take my 2 and be done with it. But this is a deal where, another example, someone says, Brett, you're sure expensive. Yep. So I'll tell them, so let me tell you something. You want to go spend 90 days in jail? No. So do you want to go spend 2 years in prison? No. So how much would you spend not to spend 90 days in jail? How much would you spend, Denny?
Yeah, that number starts going way up, I can tell you.
Yeah. And let's talk about pin time. So here's P. Diddy. Listen to this. P. Diddy's sitting in one of the worst jails you could possibly be in. He's got all this.
Hey, tell us about that, Brad. What makes it so bad?
Oh, it's got the rats. It's nasty. It's got the rat. It's got the Dallas ain't no walk in the park, dude. I'll never forget the first day that jail opened. I was over there, the new jail. I was over there because I was counting the steps from the car to the holdover because I wanted to know for my trial coming up. And I walked to the back, and there's the kitchen, and there's these big metal kennels, right? They were cooking rice or something, or sauerkraut, because that's all they ever cook over there is sauerkraut. It smells like sauerkraut every day. And I see this big dude sweating, right? He got a big gold tooth. And he looks at me and he sticks his finger down in that pot and dips it in there and puts his finger in his mouth and goes, mwah. I saw that. Dude, I'm a germaphobe, man. I almost started throwing up.
Well, you're a germaphobe too, so that had to really bother you.
Oh, that jail.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
Diddy, you get a shower twice a week. And now you got me on the road tonight. I thought I was going to sit here and take it easy. And listen to this. How would you like to be in a jail cell with 20 dudes or 5 dudes? And every time you have to go potty, you have to potty in front of them.
Yeah. That would raise your retainer for me right off the bat. Promise you. Yeah. No good. And and I haven't had as much experience down at the jailhouse as you, Brett, but enough to know that the Dallas jail, in some respects, if you're in there for a while, that's even worse than being in prison, is it not?
Oh yeah. Everybody that ends up in the Starrett wants to get down to Huntsville. They want to roll. Get me out of here. It's disgusting.
Well, you can imagine, going back to P. Diddy, the lifestyle that he lived, the kind of shock that he's going through right now, where he's sitting.
$100 million, he could pay it. He ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
Right? All that money he earned, poof, gone. It's going to go to victims, and it should.
Yeah.
Because the man was evil.
You know, and I look at someone like J Lo, who, you know, beautiful, very talented, and you look at her life. I mean, with all due respect, I mean, how many marriages, how many, you know, marriage-like relationships has she gone through? And with, you know, seemingly people that would be, you know, the envy of any single woman out there. Yet look at her life. I mean, it's one after another, after another, after another.
Carcuss. It's just what he's saying. All you need is love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my
But
mother,
the real kind of love.
The real
but
kind. You
Not
can't.
not the cheap talk, not the, you know,
No.
not the sex and everything. All that's fine, but I mean, you know, what it get for a lasting, you got to be talking about the real love
well,
that
it's the difference.
involves doing things, you know, living it out.
It's the difference between joy and happiness. People are happy. You
Yeah,
can, it's
absolutely.
easy to make someone happy, but that's temporary. Joy is long lasting. It's eternal. And as my mother would always caution me, wickedness never was happiness.
Yeah.
And as much as we thought we knew born of our parents, how often, I mean, I can remember it just like Brett. I can remember the day and time that I had that discussion with my dad. We're sitting on the couch out here in my living room, and I said, "You know what, Dad? I have to tell you, you were right about." I said, "I can't remember a time that you were actually wrong about advice that you had given me or suggestions of how to live my life or what to do." And I could just see it was like a light was shining down on him, like his countenance shone, because it as a parent, um, I'm guessing he finally understood that maybe he had laid such a firm foundation for his own son that somehow he gravitated back to those good principles. And part of society nowadays is that nobody takes the time to educate the children, the kids, or take the time to show them, give them an example. And this is just my experience, and I'm out among it all the time, and, and it's no different than these labor guys that we have on that are H-2B visa certified, and I appreciate the fact that they come here for 9 months and they work their tails off, then they go back to Mexico for 90 days, and then they want to come back. They want to utilize those skills that they have learned the first time around, and that you can tell the difference between the new guys and the old guys. But kids these days just don't have. I don't know if they don't take the opportunity or they're not given the opportunity.
Mhm.
So maybe we could speak to that because I still my parents still coach me when I need to be coached, and I still coach my daughter, even though she's a bad motor scooter and she can probably handle her own business, but she still comes to me and says, "Dad, I got a question." And we talk about it, talk it out, and she doesn't always do what I say, but she did eventually come back to me and said, "You know what? You were right."
Yeah, it's good.
Carcuss, listen to this. P. Diddy has 4 kids.
Mm.
The old saying about parents and their kids, fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. How would you like it if your dad was in prison for totally violating women, doing freak offs, whatever the hell that is, a freak off?
I can't imagine because I know my father, and I know his father, and I know his father, and I know that the way that they were raised, it was very structured, and plus add the military and the religious aspects to it, and I can't imagine. I mean, you know me. I speak of my father in high praises all the time, and my mother too, because she was the dad when he was off
I'm
flying
talking,
airplanes.
your dad's a pervert. What do you tell these 4 kids?
Yeah.
What do you tell them, Rev?
Well, I mean, one, you've tied a hand behind their back, that's for sure. And you know, here's the beautiful thing about life. I mean, you can actually use it as a positive if you make the change. You know, if you choose not to follow in that path, and you can step back, and I really do think. See, I think it's almost impossible without God. I really do. Without Jesus in your heart, I don't know what the chances are for any of them.
You know, I used to do that in my seminar when I'd hear a really sad story of somebody about what their dad did to them. I'd always tell them, you know what the blessing of all this is? God is your father.
That's right.
You give to God all you want for being a father that you need and didn't have. And there's so much, you could just see the weight get lifted off their shoulders when you told them that.
You know, Brett Carcuss, over the decades of practicing law and getting behind the curtain is what I call it. You know, when you're dealing with personal matters for a client, you learn a lot about their life, maybe a lot more than even their friends, close friends, know, because they have to tell you. You know, you got to know these things. I don't know when I got over the shock of how many people get abused out there in their home. It's a lot, and it's horrific, and the damage that does it's terrible, but it can be overcome. But you know, again, I mean, for those, so like you think about P. Diddy's kiddos, I mean, yeah, they could turn out to be some of the strongest, the most influential people, you know, of their generation, if they'll learn from it, you know, and if they'll see the evilness for what it is, and they, you know, and they have that strong commitment. Hey, I will never go down that path. I will be different. I will change here, and I will be able to help others.
Yeah.
Well, I've probably said this before, but my grandpa used to tell me, you don't have to eat dirt to know it tastes bad. And then he gave me a box of toothpicks for my birthday one year so I could pick the gravel out of my teeth because he knew I would. But, you know, those kids have an opportunity to see, like you said, the evil incarnate, and there's no other description for it. And they can change, they can stop the chain of
Right.
that type of abuse, but they have to. Akeem Olajuwon was one of my customers, and I asked him, "How did you get from Nigeria to starting in the NBA?" And he said, "I had a disease called really gotta wanna." And I said, "What is that?" And he said, "I really gotta wanna," and I did. And so I think those kids need to have a case of really gotta wanna,
It's
so
like,
they can change and they can stop this course
Yeah.
of abuse.
the 4 kids are in a submarine and they have to open up the top little ledge, the hatch, and look out, see where land is, and change course. You
Yeah.
know,
It's good.
he's
That's
just
there's so much collateral damage with something like this.
Yeah.
And you know, people need to be aware that those kids are going to need some direction, and who is it going to be? I mean, who is it going to be? Is the state of New York your best bet? Are there family members? Are there true friends? Once again, how many friends you got on your hand, Brett?
2. Hey, listen, listen. I don't mind telling y'all, the world, there's a lot more of that going on out there
Yeah.
than you would ever imagine. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. I've heard more in the last 12 months than I've ever heard in my life. So it's out there.
It's more than frightening.
It's dark. You know, and the sad thing too is that most abusers, I don't know what P. Diddy's life was back growing up, but most abusers were abused. And, you know, it's not an excuse. It's not a get out of jail free card, right? But it's just a fact. And
Reverend,
you got to deal with it. You
Reverend,
got to
I need
change.
to tell you, there's apps that you can get on right now to get what's that? What fetish? Fetish is an app that you can get any fetish that you ever dreamed of done to you. There's apps for swingers, and they They're out there. They put their face, they put their boobs, they put whatever it is out there, and they go take up the Omni Hotel. They take a whole floor of the Omni for a weekend.
Wow.
15,000 swinging couples in Dallas alone.
Man.
That's sick, dude.
Yeah. That's
Okay, let's go back for our kids. What would you tell your kids? Well, number one, I could never do that because I'd never want to hurt my kids that much, right? Follow the rules. Number one, you got to follow the rules. It's not hard to follow the rules, is it, Carcuss?
No. And let me tell you something. A lot of people, when I grew up, as you know, I was in a very strict religious military home. And people said, man, you got so many rules. Your life must be terrible and hard. And I thought, no, my life is great. My life is structured. It's meaningful. And my mother told me once that obedience begets freedom. And I didn't ever know what that meant until they took my keys away, because I decided I knew better about going somewhere that I shouldn't. And I got put on restriction from driving the car. And so had I just followed the rules, I'd have had the freedom to keep driving the car. But I think people lose sight of the fact, kind of like you mentioned about P. Diddy, he just never thought he'd get caught. He's the big...
He could buy his way out of it.
Yeah, he could buy his way out. He's the big deal. Nobody's going to arrest him.
That's dumb. That's just flat dumb. Anyway, it's like I always tell people, dealing drugs is like they go to a CVC and they pick the drug up off the shelf, they put it in their pocket, they leave. The second time they go, they put the 3 boxes in their pocket and they leave. It gets easier and easier for you to think that what you're doing is okay when it's not. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Well, still, I had a chance to teach a lesson on Sunday, and it was about all things for our good. You know, we have a lot of tragedy, we have stumbling blocks, we have adversity in our lives, and it helps us understand that the negative helps us understand the positive. And without resistance, we don't gain strength. And one thing that they said about temptation, which is a real problem with everybody, is that it's always present. It's a lifelong battle. It's necessary for spiritual growth. And without temptation, people would not be able to choose between good and evil. And they said it's like a magnet. The closer you get, the more attracted you are to it. The further away you get, it loses its power.
I believe that.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, that goes back to that. We're in a battle. And again, you can let that scare you to death, but you shouldn't be scared of it. It's a good thing because it gets us stronger, you know. And in life, our objective is, if I can preach a little, Brett and Carcuss, it's to become more Christ-like. But that's a process. You know, when we receive salvation and eternal security, that happens. That's an event. You know, if we do the right thing, we come before God and we confess and we confess our beliefs and we commit. We make Jesus the Lord of our lives. That happens in the twinkling of an eye. But that doesn't make us from bad to good. Now we go through that process, and it's a lifelong process of maturing in our walk. And you know, sometimes you flatline a little, right? But you sure want to be making your way up.
You know, it's like the journey of life is going down the river in a boat, and the oar is faith. Just keep picking that oar up and just keep rowing and keep going forward, and you're going to be okay. Okay, look, co-host, roundtable dudes, listen up. We got to talk about our future guest. We've done it. Listen, we have done a great job growing this show. It's very slow growth. I don't really care if we grow at all, but we're growing. We're doing slow growth. We're having fun. We got some Bruce. We got some guys there to come back that have been our guests that are really, really cool. They're going to come back on. We need to ask John Patterson to come back on. Kimberly needs to come back on. And I got the CEO of Women's Football League is going to come on.
Oh, nice.
Oh, dude, she's awesome. She worked her way out of the ghetto in LA. Her story deserves to be heard. Nick is going to come on. Y'all will learn about him when he does. But Dennis, tell us who's coming on next Tuesday.
Well, he's a great guy. His name is Sean Lowe, and a lot of people out there know him as The Bachelor. From what I understand, when he was on The Bachelor, it was the highest ratings that show ever had. And he really lucked out. He'd give God the credit, but he ended up marrying Catherine, who he picked on the show, and they're very happily married. Beautiful family. And I almost forget about this about O'Shawn, but he was on Dancing with the Stars. He'll have to tell us how long he lasted. I mean, I know he made it past the 3 or 4 or 5 weeks. Played football at Kansas State, and just a great guy. It'd be a lot of fun having him on.
He's got connection to the great town of Irving,
Texas, baby. Yeah.
All
roads.
Was he a Tiger?
No, he I think it was I want to say Lamar. So when he was old enough to be playing in high school, his family had moved, but he lived in Irving a good part of his life. So we're gonna claim him for sure.
And we got to have his wife on too.
That'd be fun. She's a lot prettier than he is too.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Hey, Denny, I promise not to give him any grief about Kansas State like you had
that's right.
You game.
Yeah, you guys, man, y'all got him this past week and me the week before.
Yep.
But
I'm a little bitter about that, frankly, but
is Florida coming to town here, or is it the game in Florida State, SMU?
That's here. So that's this coming Saturday night, 7 o'clock. That'll be fun.
Hey, they sure looked good against the Horny Toads, didn't they?
And listen, sorry, no disrespect here, but O'Sunny got kicked out of the game in the third quarter, and because the old Horned Frog stole him from us, he did not walk away in silence as he made that long walk to the tunnel and out of the stadium.
It wasn't a very Christian-like exit.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. What we always teach on this show, what goes around comes around.
Hey,
he always does a full circle, and most likely you get to see it.
Hey, it happened on the hilltop. It was a beautiful sight.
It was a beautiful
And let me tell you, SMU's a fun team to play. Now, man, I don't know where you pick these guys up, Carcuss, on your BYU lines. I mean, those guys are giants.
Yeah.
So they kind of shut us down, but under normal circumstances, I got to tell you, SMU's a fun team to watch. They ran a punt back for a touchdown, ran an interception back for a touchdown, and scored 66 points. So
as I mentioned, I always try to support the local teams, and SMU in particular, because the guy I work for, the owner of the company, was an SMU grad, and one of my friends at work is an SMU guy. And so I try to support where I can. Now, if he went to the University of Utah, you and I would meet in the parking lot, but at least we don't have that going for us. And TCU is not one of my favorite places. So at least we agree on that.
Yeah, it was a good weekend for both of us, for sure.
Yep.
How did Tech do, Brett? I didn't.
They won.
Did they? Okay, good, man.
Yeah.
You're 3 out of 3.
Yeah, Arizona State. I appreciate you asking, because us Red Raiders, we just sit there in the background.
Yeah, I hear you.
We pour whiskey down the tubas.
The frogs do this little weird thing like that. Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, they need to pick something else. That looks.
They really do.
All right, guys, let's call it a night. We really appreciate everybody listening. And look, we would really invite you to subscribe, like, send it out to your guest, and watch Sean Lowe on our show next Tuesday. He's got an authority. He's got incredible faith. And he had the highest ratings on The Bachelorette, whatever. And because he was real, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, we always like to end our show with the favorite quote, and I want to talk about this for a little bit. Tonight's quote is, "The most dangerous person is the one who listens, thinks, and observes." Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, I like that. Hey,
Well-
Brett, was it one of our previous guests that said that if you change the letters around and listen,
Bruce.
it spells silent?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bruce Pulver.
Yeah.
That was good.
I
Or
got his book, by the way, and it's phenomenal.
what was it? What word was it?
You can take, if you take the word listen and you move the letters around, it spells silent.
Silent.
In other words,
One
shut
about-
up, listen.
Yeah. The other word was, if you move it around, it turn it into sword. Words into sword.
Oh, that's good too.
I like that. But I like, the reason I like this is, dude, when I'm in battle in the courtroom or something, it's that lawyer over there that's quiet. That's the one that scares me.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
got, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I'll tell you who I know personally does a great job of this. Listens, thinks, and observes. Is Phil McGraw.
Absolutely.
He does a
Sure
great
does.
job of that. He truly listens to you. Effective listening is the best listening. Anyways,
Absolutely.
I hope y'all have a great week. And thank you for listening to our show. Y'all have a great week. We love you. Good night.
Yeah. Love
All right.
you.
See you.
See you now.
All right.